Good evening. This is the Town of Barnstable Waterways Committee meeting, Tuesday, August the 23rd. The Town of Barnstable Waterways Committee consists of members Peter Cross, Greg Egan, Todd Warland, and myself, Paul Everson. All are present. So we do have a quorum. Town staff present. We have Jay Horn, who's the mooring officer, assistant harbor master. Pam Swider-Cohen, who is the principal department assistant. I have to first say that please note that tonight's meeting is recorded and broadcast on channel 18 in accordance with Mass General Law 30A, section 20. I must inquire whether anyone is taping this meeting, and please make their presence known. And first order of business will go to the minutes of July the 26th, 2022. Has everybody had a chance to review those minutes?
Yes. Me.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Entertain a motion to accept those as written.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Greg, thank you. Next order of business, we have notice of intent. Mark R. L. Landry and Nancy Allen. Just get rid of this. Bear with me, I have too many pages open.
It's
that is 494 Elliott Road in Centerville, Mass. 02632, map 226, 192. Applicant's request for an amended order of conditions. The project includes a 4-foot wide boardwalk of 13 feet with kayak racks, 95 feet of 4-foot wide boardwalk, and a 6x12 fixed platform with 6-foot wide steps into the water. No boats will be berthed at the platform. And we believe that this, obviously being amended, that from memory, this was fairly well up the Centerville River, well up into Elliott Road, where little navigation. Am I correct, Jay? If we can bring that up on the map.
Yes, sir. I have it on the map now for you. This went in front of the Waterways Committee previously, and it was approved. Everyone's familiar with the Centerville River. And when I zoom in, parcel number 494 is this piece of property right here. And what I'm going to do now is pull up the original plans that was approved by the Waterways Committee. If everyone can see those. The changes that they've made are the orientation of where this boardwalk is going to exist. I know 95 feet sounds excessive, but that's the total length of the boardwalk across the salt marsh. That's not into any navigable waters. So when I pull up the new plan, you'll see that this boardwalk has been changed. Its position has been moved from the north side of their property over here to what I would call the southwest side. And I will pull up this other PDF so you can have an idea of the new proposal. So as you can see here, again, it's been moved from the northern tip of their property over here to the west southwesterly side. This dotted line here, if I zoom in for you guys, just give me a second here to navigate the computer. Shows that there's only about 12 feet of actual dock in the water that extends from the edge of the marsh line. Harbor Master Department doesn't have any concerns with this proposal.
Okay, you were a bit broken up there. How far into the navigable water does that extend? About 12 feet or so?
12 feet, sir.
the depth there is
Extremely
inches,
shallow.
yeah, inches rather than feet.
Yeah. And again, there's no motorized vessel going to be on there. It's just strictly for kayak storage.
Okay. And is there a engineer or representative present want to speak to this?
The engineer could not make it tonight. She did send me the updated plans. I reviewed the hard copies and the electronic copies. But no one's here to represent it.
All right. How do the members feel about this one? Start with Peter.
If it doesn't impact navigation and conservation's all right with it, I don't see a problem with it.
Okay. Greg,
I agree with Peter.
thank you. Todd?
I also agree with Peter.
All right, and I would be supportive of myself, so that passes unanimously. Okay, next up, we have mooring appeals. Mark Fraser did not renew. It's a SSB, so Shoestring Bay number 30 did not renew in 2021, permitted since 2012, never missed previously. What's the harbor master input on that one, Jay?
This particular mooring ball number has been reassigned. I offered, that his position to somebody else on the wait list. With that being said, I do have some wiggle room in Shoestring Bay. If the committee were to grant him this appeal and approve it, I can find a spot for him. I think we can make it work.
Okay, and I believe is Mr. Fraser present?
I am, sir.
Great. The floor is yours. Go ahead, Mr. Fraser.
I had a boat on this mooring since 2012, and then in 2020, foolishly, because of my own disorganization, let it lapse, and have continued to pay Peter Murray kind of the mooring fee just in case I had this appeal approved. And I live in the neighborhood. I live at 31 Catuit Cove, so I'm hoping to get this reinstated. Respectfully.
Oh, okay. Thank you. As you can see, that the harbor master has a wait list around town that every bit of landing and every mooring field area has a waiting list. And when people don't renew, there are people chomping at the bit on these lists to get their spot. Fortunately, he's going to be able to move some things around, it sounds like, to get you to accommodate you to come back in if the committee approves it. As we like to say, this is how many strike league is it, Mr. Cross?
One strike and you're out.
All right, thank you.
This is it.
I will only let one strike happen, I promise.
Okay, so just be mindful of that, and any of the other committee members have a problem reinstating this one?
Yeah.
Hearing none, we would approve it, and just you need to reach out to the Harbor Masters Department and speak with them about any back fees or anything that you may owe. So just
Thank you so much. I really
Yes.
appreciate it.
Enjoy your boat, but don't come back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Frazier, call myself or Pam tomorrow, please, at the office. All right. And I'll take care of the appeal. We'll get you your mooring back.
Thank you, Mr. Horn. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir.
thank you. Next up is Richard Andrew O'Brien. Lewis Bay, number 209, change of vessel request denied. If you could tell us about that one, Jay.
Yes, sir. Initially, Mr. O'Brien applied for a change of vessel in Lewis Bay. He was asking permission to have a 30-foot boat placed there. I reached out to his mooring servicer. We determined that there was adequate swing room and that we could accommodate such a vessel that size. So I gave him a conditional approval, which is essentially a green light for them to purchase the vessel and place it on the mooring. To receive a final approval from this office, you have to send me your documentation so I can update our computer system and I can actually assign that vessel to the mooring itself. It's the final part of the change of vessel. When Mr. O'Brien did submit that documentation to me, there was two names that appeared on it. There was himself and a co-owner of the vessel that is not his wife or spouse. So, you know, according to the regulations, we don't allow co-ownership. We don't allow for people to have more than one person on the registration of the vessel unless it is their significant other. And I had to deny this change of vessel. So here we are. Mr. O'Brien wrote me a letter. He sent the committee a letter, and he wants to discuss receiving permission to do this.
Okay, and I do see that we have that letter in file that it was received yesterday. So, Mr. O'Brien, you are present, sir?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
I agree with the harbor master's description of the events up to the denial of the change of vessel. And you know, when we entered into this, you know, I anticipated that this would be a non-event. You know, admittedly, not having reviewed the regulations in advance of that, so this was a bit of a surprise when I was notified of this change of the denial of the change of vessel. You know, I guess I'd make a couple of points in requesting your, frankly, your accommodation of this co-ownership. You know, first, yeah, I'm a real. Yeah, we are really, co-owners of this boat. We're active co-owners. This is not some straw deal where it's Tom's boat and I'm sort of letting him use my mooring. You know, we bought it 50-50. We share the expenses 50-50. I think he gets to use a little bit more than I do, but basically we're both active sailors, it's particularly convenient since we're both members of the Hyannis Yacht Club. Second point I'd make is I understand the regulation about individuals. The point I'd make is that each of us are individuals. We aren't we're not an association. We're not trying to be a Trojan horse and get a whole bunch of other owners onto this. We're just two people who co-own a boat that we'd like to put on this mooring. I've had for years a Boston whaler on this mooring, which was great when our kids were sailing Optimus and other small boats in Lewis Bay, but that's not what they do anymore. So the Boston whaler really isn't appropriate, and I'm not trying to squeeze another boat in here. I'm trying to replace the whaler on that mooring with something that's more suitable for our activities, and the whaler will be taken out and put on a trailer. And finally, I'm not trying to transfer this mooring to Tom Drake. I intend to be the sole mooring permit holder. This is only about the documentation of the vessel itself. And if sometime in the future, we part our ways on this vessel, then I will register a different vessel, and that will be it. We're not trying to transfer this mooring. So I think we're just in a situation here where we've got two people actively really use this boat who want to put it on the mooring, and we're requesting your accommodation of that.
Okay. What happens, the beginning of the year, Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you send out the mooring applications, for renewal, isn't there a reminder in there if you are going to change a vessel, please reach out to the harbor master's office to make sure that it can be accommodated, number one, and all of the paperwork would be consistent. You still include that?
With our online system, I don't believe we do. We do have a disclaimer that it's the mooring permits holder's obligation to understand the rules and the regulations of the town and abide by those.
Okay, but there was some paperwork that you had in the past anyways that say that, you know, if you're gonna upgrade your boat or whatever, make sure that you know, you just can't automatically assume that you can change vessels and, you know, put it on the mooring. I am sympathetic with, you know, your Jay, if we could get that radio turned down in the background, please. Thanks. If that it is quite loud.
Sorry, you know, monitoring the radios is something we have to do here.
Yeah,
I
I know.
apologize.
So as I'm sympathetic with it, you're not the first person to you know, come across this problem here, you know, where the regulation clearly states unless it's a husband, wife, or a family member transferring it from one to the other. Let's, Mr. Cross, what's your feeling on this one?
Yeah, we've run into this many times before, and it has always been, the Waterways Committee has always said that the regulations are pretty clear about who can own a vessel and who can register to a mooring. And I hate to, I sympathize, but I also hate to get into, you know, this what could be a constant. You know, I bought a boat with my best friend, and then 2 years from now the boat gets sold to the best friend, and they want to transfer, and then it creates a myriad of problems, honestly.
Sure, thank you. Greg?
I guess I would echo Paul and Peter, and I don't doubt Mr. O'Brien's sincerity here, but I wonder about precedent, and I know that is an issue that comes up not infrequently relative to multiple owners, that it's a common request. So I would default to the precedent of what the Waterways Committee has, how they've handled it before. Just to Peter's point of, you know, subsequent requests that may or may not be as sincere as Mr. O'Brien's, it may be problematic in terms of that. So I defer to how the Waterways Committee has dealt with it in the past.
All right, thank you. And Todd?
I definitely respect the position of Paul and Peter and the expertise in this department. And I'm going to defer to that in this particular case. I will say, though, that I think that it's probably something that, with a lot more feedback from the harbor master's office, it might be something in the future that we try to figure out a more amicable solution to it that does not create an unnecessary burden on the harbor master's office and allows for this situation to actually exist with prices of boats and trying to get more people on the water. Co-ownership, it's an intriguing idea, and maybe it solves a few problems for us, but I think based on the precedent and where we're at right now, just probably not able to accommodate it. And I certainly wouldn't want to put that burden on the harbor master's office at this point when we're not quite equipped for it.
Okay. Jay, let me ask you, I know that the Hyannis Yacht Club was asking, you know, about the transient program, and I'm not suggesting that this application could go to that, but what about any other commercial moorings available in that area? Are there any that you know of, or what's a possibility, you know, for these folks going forward in light of the committee's reluctance to break with any regulation that you know, that we have in place?
Yeah, I sympathize with Mr. O'Brien as well. I do believe he's sincere. As mooring officer, I have to, abide by the rules and the regulations as they're set before me. That's why I have the Waterways Committee, you're my advisement board. So I need to, permit people the way the regulations state that they should be permitted. Mr. O'Brien, the solution to your problem is to remove Mr. Drake from your documentation. If you submit me a documentation that just has your name on it, then that vessel can be placed on the mooring. Whether you choose to let somebody else use that is none of my concern. The concern is liability, sir. If your boat breaks free from the mooring and Mr. Drake's name is on it and it causes damage to another vessel in the mooring field, the town could be held liable because Mr. Drake isn't permitted to that mooring. So that's the whole reason we have this. It's one of the reasons why we have these regulations in place.
Yeah. I understand that. I understand that solution. I suppose, respectfully, what's on the other side is liability concern as well. If in fact, it's a joint, it's a co-owned boat, I'd like to have my co-owner sharing in the liability as well. But I hadn't thought through that the liability concern that you raise, and I understand. And I'm not suggesting, by the way, that he be a co-permittee of this mooring. That's not at all what I'm requesting.
Yeah.
Are there two names on the registration of the boat?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, like the harbor master said that, I take it it's documented.
Yes, it's documented with the Coast Guard. That's right.
Okay. So as the mooring officer suggested, if you have some amendments to that and it reflects your name on the boat, and I don't know as far as the other liability concern, insurance, that's up to you, is who's named on an insurance policy. But the way the regulation is, the committee would not be supportive of doing anything different than what the mooring officer has suggested would be our stance.
I understand the discussion. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, good night. Next order of business, the waitlist lottery, moorings and marinas. Go ahead, Jay.
Yes, sir. Let me just switch my screen here. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
All right. So what once was a dream of having an online lottery is now becoming a reality. I've been working very hard on building this website and getting this lottery in order. As it stands right now, I plan to open up the lottery on September 15th. I'm still waiting for a couple final approvals. One of those issues I want to talk to the committee about tonight and get their approval on. But essentially, we're going to advertise this. Everybody who is currently a mooring permit holder, waitlist holder, dog license holder, if you're in our system, you're going to get an email and you're going to be informed about the lottery. It's going to tell you when the dates are. It's going to tell you when it closes. As of right now, it's opening September 15th. It's going to close October 1st. So we're going to have it open for 2 weeks. During that time, the individuals are going to go on the town of Barnstable website. They're going to click on a link. And when they click on a link, it's going to bring them to the page that you see before you now, the town of Barnstable mooring waitlist lottery. As we scroll down, this is one of the things I wanted to talk to the committee about tonight. Right here in the red writing, I'm just going to read it briefly. It says, you may only enter your name once per mooring field. Anyone purchasing multiple tickets for the same mooring field will automatically be removed and no refunds will be given. For example, you can purchase one ticket for Prince Cove, Katuitt Town Dock, and the Katuitt Oyster Company, Cordwood. However, you cannot purchase multiple tickets for the same mooring field. The last four numbers of your Social Security will be required at checkout, and duplicate tickets that are purchased will be removed with no refunds given. And as the users scroll down, they're going to be able to see the mooring fields that we are holding the lottery for. The first one is the Katuitt Oyster Company and Cordwood. When you click on that, it's going to give you a description of that mooring field. I have the guidelines in there that say what length boat you're allowed, that there is a launch service, but it's an extra fee. I try to put in as much details as I can about, sorry, Katuitt Oyster Company does not have a launch service. But I try to put in as much details as I can about that particular mooring field. So the three that we are going to be having the lottery for are the Katuitt Oyster Company, Prince Cove, and the Katuitt Town Dock. Right now, the numbers on all of these wait lists are extremely depleted. I cannot offer any more moorings in Prince Cove. Nobody will take one. I'm at the end of my list in Katuitt Oyster Company and Cordwood. I can't offer any more moorings there right now. And Katuitt Town Dock, we have just about 20 people left on the wait list. When you click on buy an entry for the wait list position, it's going to allow you to purchase one ticket, just like online shopping. You click that, it'll add it to the cart. If you want to buy a ticket for each mooring field, it'll put it in the cart and it'll bring you to the checkout process. You're going to have to enter your email address in order to continue. And then again, there's a series of check boxes. When you go to checkout, you have to enter the last four digits of your Social Security number. It says enter yes to acknowledge that you understand only one ticket may be purchased per mooring field and no refunds will be given. And then you have to enter your legal name. Once all these steps are completed, it'll allow the person to check out. This will compile a list of everyone who signed up for that particular lottery. During that 2-week period, I can go into the administrative side of this. I can see anyone who has signed up and tried to purchase more than one ticket. I can remove that name. On October 1st, when it closes, we will get a printout of everyone who has purchased a ticket. And the website will have a live drawing on October 5th at 1 p.m. I have no control over that. It's completely computer generated. The town has nothing to do with it. Names will be chosen at random. And if you are lucky enough to get your name chosen, you will be added to the wait list of your choice.
Okay, just going to the three different areas there, and you say you've exhausted, you've gone through. Do you still have quite a sizable amount of people on the wait list that you've gone through?
The most people I have right now is the Katuitt Town Dock wait list. And I'm literally at the end of the list, gentlemen. There's 21 people on it. I called every individual on there. I think out of the 21 people on there, I was able to offer 3 moorings. The applications are in process right now. They're getting their paperwork together. So yeah, it's exhausted. Prince Cove has been exhausted since last year. I think there's 13 people on that mooring list right now at the top, off the top of my head. And nobody will take a mooring there. Yet I have 6 empty spots to offer in Prince Cove. So whoever does win this lottery is going to get extremely lucky, because not only is their name going to go on the wait list, but they're going to get a phone call from me right away. And they're going to be offered that mooring in Prince Cove.
Jay,
And-
can you refresh my memory? Where did we end up when we had that kind of discussion on this whole process on folks that elect not to take available moorings in the wait list? How did we, I know we talked about maybe moving them to the end of the list, but is there any, did we make any provisions or is there still an open discussion on purging them from the list so that we can try to have this turnover happen a little faster, especially for the harbor master's department, but to satisfy the need in the community?
Yeah. At first it was challenging getting through the people that don't accept the mooring. But you know, as I started doing it year after year, I got better at it and I developed systems that, you know, make it an easier process for me. I email multiple people at once and I'm very specific with the verbiage. And I say, if a mooring were to be available, would you take it? And that allows me to contact several people at once and kind of weed them out. So I have a hard time with removing people from the wait list, just like I have a hard time with taking somebody's mooring away from them that's not being used. If you're renewing your wait list, but you're not ready to buy a boat, or you're waiting for your son to get out of college so that he can get a mooring, there's many different reasons why people don't take a mooring. And right now, I'm just not willing to take that opportunity away from them. If there's monetary value to be gained, every year they pay it. Their name stays on the list. And quite frankly, it doesn't affect anyone else on it. It actually helps the people that are further along. They don't take it. I move on. I go to the next person and I offer them the mooring. So as of right now, there's no plan in sight to change the way that the regulations are currently written.
And they stay in their same position?
They stay in their same position, or they move up if someone ahead of them, you know, takes the mooring.
May I ask a quick question about the process, Jay?
Sure.
When they enter this lottery, is there another step that they actually have to pay to finalize their placement on the actual waiting list?
Right. So this is just a lottery so that they can be added. The computer will pick the names at random. We will contact those people and then they will have to pay to get on the wait list. That's correct. Thank you, Pam.
And how many slots will there be for each of these? Will they vary?
It's going to vary. We've talked about some numbers already. I'm kind of basing it on the size of the mooring field itself. So for example, Lewis Bay, Hyannisport averages around 200 people on the wait list. And with 200 people, it takes on average 10 to 15 years to get a mooring in that mooring field. So in an area like Katuitt Town Dock, considering there's so many moorings between the dock and Ropes Beach, we're going to select about 150 people to put their name on the list for that area.
Okay.
Prince Cove and Cordwood has not been determined yet, but there will be a minimum of 50 people drawn for the lottery for those areas.
Okay, so and also, just so people, when they want to, and I know you've said, you know, one per person. I know in the past when mooring wait lists were open, people would put their name, their spouse and their kids and everybody but the family dog. So the lottery, would it run to the same guidelines that as long, you know, individuals, you know, like 4 or 5 people in a family could all enter the lottery, one per person?
That's correct. Husband, wife, daughter, son, brother, sister, any individual with a social security number can put their name into the lottery. And
If
we
your name
encourage-
is,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Oh,
No,
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead,
Jay. I
John.
didn't mean to. If your name is currently on the waiting list, are you allowed to put your name in for a lottery position as well?
That's a great point. No. So if it's a closed waiting list and you're already on the Katuitt Town Dock waiting list, you will not be able to purchase another ticket and have your name drawn.
Great.
So here's what I need your recommendation for, gentlemen. I went through the mooring regulations front to back, and there is no regulation that says you can't add your name more than once. We don't have that verbiage. Yet I was told by everybody, Harbor Master Taylor, Eric Schufelt, who worked here for 24 years, and I even called Dan Horn, who's retired, and said, Dan, what did you guys do? And he informed me that they've always done it this way. You can only have one name entered in the lottery per individual. So I'm asking the committee tonight to approve that so that I can go forward with the town manager and get his approval and make that a regulation in the future.
Yeah, that
I'd be
certainly
all in
seems,
favor.
so let's just, Peter, you okay with that?
Yeah, I would move that we put that into the regulations, that you can only have one name on per wait list.
Okay,
One
And-
spot, one spot. You can't buy 2 or 3 spots on the wait list.
well, on the lottery.
Lottery.
Okay, and so Todd, you're okay with this?
Absolutely.
Okay, and I am certainly in supportive of that, Jay. Greg, you're good with this?
I am. It just, it just seems as though we're codifying the best management practice that the Harbor Master's Office has used for decades. So I think it's actually thanks to Mr. Horn that he found that omission. So I just think it tightens things up. So yes, I am.
Okay, so going forward, Jay, you'll be meeting with the town manager's office, and as far as adopting it as part of a rule or regulation, the Waterways Committee is in full support of it.
Yeah, so previously it's been done under the harbor master discretion. And the reason they did this is that they want to keep it fair to everyone, and they don't want people to buy their way in to a waitlist opportunity. And that's what we're trying to eliminate here. If somebody has deep pockets and they join the raffle and they buy 1,000 tickets or 100 tickets or 200 tickets, it's not keeping it fair to everyone. So I think what makes the most sense is we just limit it 1 ticket per individual. That's it.
Okay, well, certainly good with that. If there's nothing further on that, let's just transition right over to the Hyannisport transient mooring.
Okay.
We got,
Right, new business. I just wanted to report to the committee that we've had an exceptional year with our transient moorings. It's really been unbelievable. I don't have, the figures in right now in terms of how many we've done. I can just tell you that during the peak months of the summer, Lewis Bay, we added that big transient mooring in Lewis Bay. We put a 2,000-pound anchor in, and we've had 44-foot sailboats in there for weeks on end. It's been very popular. We added the RT40 in Katuitt, another transient mooring this year that allows vessels up to 40 feet. It was booked all summer long. So it was great to see. I was out on patrol one night and I swung by one of our transients. There was a woman on board with her family, and she literally got choked up and almost started crying over how happy she was to have that opportunity. The kids were jumping off the swing platform and climbing back on the boat. The adults were having glasses of wine. They were really enjoying themselves, and it was a great feeling to know that the program's working, that we're getting it out there, and that people know that these things are available. So we're very excited about that. What I'm asking for tonight is I've seen a lot of opportunity in Hyannisport. Hyannisport has a launch service. I've contacted them. They're willing to take transient customers that we have in and out and allow them to use the launch service. Hyannisport can accommodate vessels up to 55 feet. We get a lot of phone calls. It's phone calls every week. for vessels that are 50 feet and over, 52 feet, 54 feet. So I'm asking the committee's permission tonight to go ahead and add a transient mooring in the Hyannis Port mooring field.
Okay, that is a closed area though, right?
No, sir, that's an open wait list.
It's an open list?
That's correct.
Okay. And how does the town go about just putting in a mooring for transient? I like the idea. I think it's great, but you know, how do we're not denying anybody else a mooring by jumping the list, so to speak.
Well, technically, yes, we're going to take a spot that we could offer to somebody on the wait list. The reason I'm choosing Hyannisport is it's one of my mooring fields that I have a lot of room for growth in. I'm constantly out there GISing the moorings, looking at the mooring field, and I've added over 25 moorings in the last 2 years to that field, and I still have room to grow. Particularly out by the larger sailboats, you all know where Glide is, and some of our gyre, some of our larger sailboats out there. There's room along that breakwater that people don't want as long-term mooring options because it's in the kind of the windward side of the mooring field. But it would be great for the summertime to offer as a transient location because they're not there in the fall, they're not there in the spring. The heart of our transient season is really from the 4th of July until Labor Day. And although we do get some southwest days where it is quite windy, I do have room to put a larger mooring out there and accommodate some of these vessels.
I would certainly encourage looking into that if it's outside of the traditional mooring area, so as not to, obviously you're not going to put a beetle cat or, a 15-foot whaler or something out there because that does mix it up and that, like you say, on a good southwesterly, you get spray and everything else coming over the top of the breakwater. But I think it is a good idea to look into that and hopefully we can, we can come up with a good solution for that.
Right.
Anybody else?
If the committee were to approve it, there's a process. My next step is actually going through the Army Corps of Engineers. And I applied for a transient mooring through them. And then when they approve it, that's the final step in getting that placed in the water next summer.
Okay. Any other committee members have any thoughts on this?
Excuse me, I'm in favor of this because I know one of the problem with Hyannis Port, as well as Lewis Bay, is parking for people that get moorings. And there's very little shoreside parking where you can park. And if you're not a member of a yacht club to have a tender service or a parking space, I think that the use of this space for a transient mooring would be a good use of it.
Yeah, correct. Particularly with the cooperation of the launch and the Hyannis Port pier, and where somebody could actually go in and catch a taxi or an Uber or something, as long as they're allowed to land there through the launch. Okay.
I would I just offer, I think it's a great initiative. I like the idea of it being primarily for larger boats. With an easterly, there's pretty good exposure there, especially as you get out towards the channel with even with ferry boat traffic, wakes. So my sense is being out there, it wouldn't be for small boats, and I agree with Jay that there is a need for combination of larger transient boats. So seasonal stuff is right, but I think that it's one mooring that would probably be one of the most exposed for a town transient mooring, and sort of would be extra managed with that in mind. Would just be a quick thought of mine.
Great. All right. Thank you, Greg. Okay. Anybody else? Not, then we do not have any correspondence. And Jay, anything else on the harbor master report?
No, right now I'm GISing the town. In case you guys don't know what that is, every summer, the IT department lends me a $15,000 GPS unit. It hooks up to 30 different satellites on average, and its accuracy is within 4 inches of when I'm plotting. So I spend my entire summer driving around the Cape. I pull up to every single mooring ball. We run that mooring ball in our system. We check the boat for compliance to make sure that the person doesn't need to file a change of vessel or that it's not an illegal boat on the mooring. And then I plot that particular mooring in the GIS unit. That data is then transported into my computer system, into our software. And that is how I do all of my change of vessels. And that's how I run these meetings. You guys have seen me on the GIS map, clicking on the distances, measuring distances from the docks, measuring the distances from the mooring to mooring. So right now I'm in full swing with that. I have half the town done. I got half the town to do, and that's what's keeping me busy right now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hey, Jay, I just have one more question before we go on, and I'm sorry to belabor the point, but I was just going over the mooring wait list. If somebody has themselves on that wait list multiple times, the same individual person, and they refuse it in both positions, is that something that we can consider making an amendment to?
The only time you can have your name multiple times on a wait list is if it's open. And Hyannis Yacht Club is a great example of that. I offered Hyannis Yacht Club 4 moorings this year in Lewis Bay because they appeared 10 times in a row on the wait list. Now, they joined 15 years ago. They've been waiting patiently to get these moorings. But the only time an individual can occur more than once is on an open wait list in the town of Barnstable.
Okay. Just a switch to the other side. We had Millway was an open mooring area last year with no wait list. Did that end up getting filled? Do you know?
Millway mooring field is still open. Right now, it's currently the only mooring field in the town of Barnstable that is still open. So any individual, provided their vessel is under 21 feet in length, could apply for a mooring tomorrow and get it, as long as they submit the right documentation.
Okay. Yep. Just curious as to if that remained that. Okay. Anything else on the harbor master report?
That's it, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks,
Yep,
Peter.
thanks, Jay and
Thank you,
Pam.
Jay. Appreciate it.
And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved.
All right, moved and seconded.
Second.
Thanks, buddy.